Faye and I flew back from Colorado on Wednesday afternoon. She slept the entire flight despite the noise, which amazed me. I can't sleep on planes because I'm absolutely terrified of flying. I'd rather stay another night in the cabin. When we got home, I ordered a pizza and she wolfed it down. Her appetites returned in full force, which is great news. I mentioned this in my original post, but Faye has an undiagnosed sleep disorder. She has pronounced night terrors, sleep talking, and occasional sleepwalking. This disorder lies dormant 90% of the time, but it tends to flare up when she's under a lot of stress. If we're moving, she changes jobs. Or if a relative dies, I can expect a night of horrifying talks and odd behavior. Needless to say, our experiences of the cabin have set Faye on edge. Although she's in high spirits, she's still afraid at night. I am too. That night after pizza, she fell asleep on the couch while watching Wedding Crashers. At around 10 p.m., the movie ended, and I turned the TV off. As I brought our plates to the kitchen, I passed by the stairwell and heard a faint noise from upstairs. It sounded like a man sighing. I shrugged it off and woke Faye up. We brushed our teeth and went to bed. Faye talked in her sleep a lot that night, and it started around 1 a.m. I woke up to her calling out, "What did you do?" And, "Do you need help?" and laughing. See, this isn't really unusual for her. She babbled occasionally, said a few things, except I woke up again around 4 and heard her talking, but this time, she was doing something she's never done before. We've been together for almost 5 years, and not once has she ever whispered in her sleep, but now she was whispering with her back turned to me. For a second, I thought someone was lying on the floor at the edge of her bed, talking back to her. This disturbed the shit out of me, so I sat up and leaned over her, trying to listen in the dark. The only thing I heard her say was, "Shh." I asked her, "Faye, what are you talking about?" She didn't respond. I said, "Who are you talking to?" She replied, "Don't," and nudged me. Another unusual thing happened. About 5:45 a.m., I woke up to Faye getting back into bed. She hurried into the bedroom from the hall and got back into bed quickly, making zero attempt not to wake me up. First of all, Faye does not get up, ever. She sleeps like a dead horse, and even if she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which she never does, the bathroom is not down the hall. It's in our bedroom. When I asked her what she was doing the next morning, she claimed that she had no memory of it. I spent all day Thursday thinking about why Faye was still acting weird. I was the one who found the dream catcher, got too close to it. I was the one who interacted with the voices at the cabin. And then I remembered something. In our last night in Colorado, at her parents' house, Faye got back into bed around the same time, 5:45 a.m. I barely remembered because I was half asleep. But the image returned to my head. She'd been getting up really, really early for a few days. So last night, I set my phone alarm to vibrate. I put the time to 4:45 a.m. in the middle of the night. Faye started talking again. This time she was doing the same thing she did at the cabin, changing her voice to sound like someone else. In 5 years, she sleep-talked a bunch, but has never whispered or changed her voice until recently. She said a few things, which I can try to commit to memory. La, 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 la. Very flat and monotone. Sha. Well, like an exhale followed by day on tail, or something like that, over and over. He's still in the trees. Where are you? I looked for you. And oh, it's time. About the same time, I heard a noise outside, which sounded like an old man grumbling to himself about something. We live in North Cal, which is really woodsy outside. So when you look out our bedroom window, there are tons of trees around the street. It's very dark, but I'm fairly certain I saw a man walking behind the first line of trees. It's too far away to be the one that's grumbling, but it's very unusual to see anyone out there this time of night. In fact, I've never seen anyone there this time of night, ever. Looking outside required me to open the curtains, which lit up the room with moonlight. When I looked back at the bed, Faye was laying there with her neck craned towards me, her eyes crazy wide and fixed on me. Her mouth was open. She issued this really frightening, gurgling, drawn-out groan, flicked her tongue around. It looked like an epileptic fit in slow motion. Faye has definitely opened her eyes in her sleep, but never like this. She looked like a fucking murderer. I got scared. I called her name really loud and woke her up. She was confused and asked me why I was at the window. I lied and said that I was just closing it because it was cold. I didn't want her to know that I heard a voice. We talked a bit. I'll skip that because this is getting long. My alarm woke me up at 4:45 a.m. and I laid there waiting for Faye to get up like she had in the past few nights. She breathes very rhythmically when she's asleep, so I can always tell how deep she's under. Around 5:20, she sat straight up, swung her legs over the bed, and tiptoed down the hall. I followed her. When I say that my fiancé tiptoed, I didn't mean like a child on Christmas. This was robotic, alien, inhuman. She moved like a meth-addicted ballerina zombie down the hall and stopped at the stairwell. Her breathing never changed. I just stood there, in our bedroom, poking my head out into the dark hall. Faye looked down the stairs, still standing rigidly on the balls of her feet, swaying to and fro slightly. She did some weird shit. She touched her face slowly for several minutes, touched the banister, touched the wall, flicked the light on and off a few times, all the while maintaining her perfectly regular coma breathing. Then she reached an arm out in the motion of a bicep curl, stretched her fingers and wiggled them, curled them, her hand and her arm back up to her face. I watched her do this motion about four minutes. It looked like she was testing the limb, as if she'd never used it before. Then I realized she was actually communicating with someone on the first floor of the house. She was making a come hither motion. With full confidence that Faye was sleepwalking, I walked into the hall and leaned over the half wall that looked to the living room. It was totally dark down there. I couldn't see anything but the clock on the cable box. Faye stood there, waving, smiling, making gestures. Then touching her face and pulling gently on her hair. I carefully ushered her back to bed and talked to her softly, trying not to actually wake her. She didn't resist, she never does. He went back to sleep without any word. I have zero clue what the fuck is going on. I told her this morning what she did, and now we have a doctor's appointment for her today at 3 p.m. I have no fucking clue what's going on.